Hello, my name is Steve Bowler and welcome to the Ansible Lab number 2. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Ansible inventory. We're going to show you where it's located by default when you install Ansible. And we're going to make some configuration changes to the inventory file. And we're going to use this lab to show you basic reachability via an Ansible command to our hosts once we set up the inventory file. So we're going to explain the importance of the inventory file. We're going to set up the default inventory file, and we're going to test reachability to the 3 hosts via Ansible, and we're going to verify Ansible reachability via tcpdump command on the hosts. So let's go ahead and explain the diagram. This is from lab number 1. If you aren't familiar with this, you want to watch the first lab to set up your VirtualBox, set up CentOS Stream 9 on the controller, the hosts, and then set up the IP addresses and test reachability. So what we're going to use is MOBA Xterm for this video. This is going to be for the lab. We use MOBA Xterm as our SSH client. So let's go ahead and get into the controller. That's the 1.100 device. And then what I want to do is, the first thing I can do is the Ansible version command. And this gives me some basic information to show that Ansible is installed on the controller and where that file location is. So if I want to change directories to etc Ansible. And then from here, if I do an ls, it'll show me the files that are inside of the Ansible directory. And let's go ahead and look at the hosts file. So we do that with cat hosts. And you can see here, this is the default Ansible host file. This is the default inventory location. And as you can see, everything is just given as an example. This is where we would put our hosts. We'll define our hosts inside of this default inventory location. And then what we're going to do is, not only are we going to define the host, but we're going to have to also put some credentials in with the host. We'll give the host an alias. We'll have to put the IP address in and the username and password. So we can modify this file if we do a vi hosts, and then if we go to, we can put this configuration, let's do this. We'll go ahead and insert a couple of lines, and what we're going to do is we're going to mark where we want to put our, let's just put it right at the end. So we're going to show you how to create an alias. It's very simple. We just start the line with the host1 statement, and this is going to be the alias. And then we use the command Ansible_host to define the network device in which we want to add to our inventory file. So this is going to be 192.168.1.200. It's going to be host 1. And then the second part of this line is going to be the Ansible user. And this is going to be the credentials we use to log into the device. So that username is going to be admin. And then the last piece of information we're going to put in is the Ansible SSH password. And then our password for our admin user is just password. So this is a very simple inventory statement where we have our alias, and that's going to be for host 1. And then we define the Ansible user, which is admin, and the password to log into the device. So let's go ahead and write this quit. Oh, it looks like I'm in read-only. I forgot to log in with sudo. Let's do that real quick. So let's go ahead and get out of. So to create a user to be a sudo user it's pretty straightforward. I can show you that real quick if you're having issues. The statement to do that is, or the command is usermod -ag wheel, and then the username. So in this case, our user would be admin. We've already done that, and then you can do a shutdown now -r. That's just to reboot the server. So you can do that if you need to. I've already done that. So what we'll do is we'll go sudo su. Sorry, we will go. I'm already in sudo. Okay, so let's go ahead now and try to go back to the Ansible directory, and then we'll go into the hosts file, and we're going to go ahead and write to this file. We'll go ahead and just write it at the very end. You can uncomment. These are all these lines are all have been uncommented, which means they're not operational inside of this file. So what we're going to do is just insert the new line. Again, it's host 1, so that's our alias. And then we'll go ahead and put Ansible _hosts equals, and that's going to be the IP address of the device. And then the Ansible user that we're going to use is going to be admin, and that's going to be a username. That's going to be a user account that's local to host 1. And then Ansible SSH password, and that's going to be what we set it. So it's just going to be password. So that is it. That's how you simply add a line to the inventory file. What we'll do next is we're going to go ahead and use a command to test the reachability. It's going to be Ansible and then the device that we are trying to reach, and that's going to be the host 1. And then we're going to call the ping module and then do a -m. So it's actually sorry about that. I put the module last. It's actually before the ping. So we'll do -m ping. And then as we can see, we have a successful connection. And so what we're going to do now is, many people may think that that's an ICMP test, right? Ping, but it's not actually that. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. If we go to our host 1 device, which is 1.200, let's go ahead and log in as admin. And then we'll change to sudo. And then what we're going to do is a tcpdump. And we're going to do this looking for traffic from the controller, which is 192.168.1.100. Let's see. Okay, so I forgot to put in the, sorry about that, TCP dump host 192.168.1.100. So this is going to start, if you're not familiar with the TCP dump, this is going to basically show us all the traffic. It is a tool that we can use to capture live traffic running across a network. And so what we're going to try to catch is traffic from the Ansible controller, and we're going to analyze that. So let's go ahead and do this command again on the controller, and we'll go back to our device, and there we go. Got a bunch of traffic. We already got 200 packets. So let's go to the very top of the packet capture, and you can see that the traffic from the Ansible controller is actually SSH or port 22 traffic. So this is the traffic that the controller was using to log in to test port 22 reachability to the host. So let's go ahead and back on the controller, if we go to back to our file, our host file, which is the default inventory file, we see that we have host 1. We put in the host IP 1.200. We had the user, which is admin, and the SSH password. And then we ran the command Ansible host1-m ping to show that we had reachability to the box via SSH, our port 22. Then we went onto the host and we saw that SSH traffic back and forth between the controller and the host. Okay, so let's go back to that file, and we're going to go ahead and add host 2. Sorry about that. So we'll go ahead and add host 2 and host 3. Okay, let's do a cat host, and we see that we have the, oops, I put in the wrong, sorry about that, put in the wrong IP. So host 2 is 200.1. Okay, so let's go back and we'll go ahead and run this test on host 2. It's going to ask to connect. This is the first time. And you can see that it has failed. Okay, it looks like I found the issue. I just had to pause it real fast. And as you can see, inside of our inventory file, which is the host file by default, you can see that I don't have the correct statement. I left off the H. So let's go ahead and try to fix that. If we go back into the file editor, and then at the end, we'll go ahead and put the H there. We'll go ahead and save this, quit. Okay, let's go ahead and see what that looks like now. And we have a successful connection. So that's host 2. We have host 1 and 2 set up correctly. Let's go ahead and try host 3 and see if there's any issues getting to host 3. So we'll go back to MobaXterm. And what we're going to do is modify our host file, the inventory file. We'll go ahead and add host 3. So again, this is just the beginning. This is the first video showing you how to create some entries in your inventory, the default inventory file, which is the host file. In some of the upcoming videos, we'll create some of our custom, you can have more than one inventory file and point to that within your Ansible playbook. So we'll show you how to do all that. This is just a introduction into the default inventory file, how to use it. Okay, so that's our entry for host 3. Let's go ahead and verify that. Host 3 is going to be 1.202. If I go back to the diagram, that's what we have listed for host 3. And if I go to host 3, let's log in. If I do a if config, the IP address is 1.202. All right, so let's check this file before I go ahead and execute the command. And there you have it. There is the third entry, which is host 3. Let's go ahead and run our command to test reachability. And you can see that we have a different error now. So let's see if we can figure out what the issue is now. So I believe the issue with this is that we need to elevate our user permissions on the server. So let's go into the server host 3. We'll log in with root. we'll do the command usermod ag wheel, and then the username, which is admin. Let's go ahead and shut down the server and reboot it. We'll wait for it to come back up. This is the great thing about the virtual boxes. These images load very quickly. The reboot takes no time at all. So as you can see, I have a login prompt. Let's go back to the controller and let's see if we can reach host 3 now that we've elevated the permissions. Okay, so we're still having an issue. That's no problem. Let's go to the server. Log in as admin. And what we might have to do here is change our password. So what we have to remember is that Ansible is trying to use the password of password. And I don't think that that is the correct password on that box. So let's go back into it and I'll show you how to create or change the password. And what I'm using to log in is the osboxes.org password. I show you how to do all this in the previous video, Ansible Lab 1. Okay, and the command to change the password is passwd space followed by the username. We'll just put in admin, and then we're just going to change the password to password. Okay, let's go back to the controller and we'll go ahead and try one more time. And you can see that we still have a failed connection to host 3.